I do want to talk about. Well, it's just one comment or one comment that I happened or comments that I happened to see just there from Nicholas. Who said, I feel this so much. With their faster patch cadence, it's really just a job now to keep up with the infinite cheap rewards they pump into everything. And again, this ain't to be hating, but I just thought that he really touched on something that is going to be an interesting issue for Blizzard to keep up with, especially in light of the player reception to the Big Dig. And I think that message came in shortly after we talked about the Big Dig. So this is a real interesting thing. Another side to this, we'll talk about it properly later, but remember, you get a major patch, 2 minor patches. That is the cadence of WoW. This doesn't actually count. Plunderstorm is between 10.2.5 and 10.2.7.
This is entirely a bonus that does not by the planned cadence of World of Warcraft take away from any World of Warcraft content. Now, obviously, it was dev time. It was engineer time.
There are things.
Resources. However, the word from them is that this wasn't core Dragonflight staff working this majorly.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Buffiness was heavily involved, so obviously that's the associate game director. But
but he's associate game director. If it is in WoW.exe, it's his remit.
Yeah.
What you'd be talking about here is core production staff. I'll put it this way. I can confirm that this did not take away from core World of Warcraft development as it would pertain to the modern audience.
For either Dragonflight or the War Within.
Yes, it literally does not. The experimental gameplay team exists outside of the core World of Warcraft development team. You'll probably notice when you look in at this, it's all read colors. Yeah. It's all recolors of stuff they've had before. So the experimental gameplay team essentially, it's all reused assets. People are like, oh, it's an asset flip. It is in a good way. The experimental gameplay team basically got to raid the pantry and get cooking with the things that they found. But this literally does not take away from artists, animators, etc., who are working in World of Warcraft: The War Within, or even 10.2.7 Dark Heart. That is just how it is. Hopefully Blizzard will talk about this in an official capacity as time goes on. So what Nicholas there was saying, I think, is an extremely, I just think it's a really prescient point. Problem that they're going to have the more that they just have the patch cadence that is like this. And I think, everything has set up. And I think it's totally fair to say if 10.2.5 was better, then this, to the people who feel let down by it, wouldn't be as much of a letdown. Because let's be real, the retaking of Gilneas, blew. Now, to be clear, cinematic, brilliantly written. And I want to see more of Tess. Oh, brilliant. Okay, the
brilliantly
last one.
Performed and acted and animated.
Fair. Yeah.
Written, I'm not going to say that because it was part of the whole Gilneas reclamation writing being, to put it lightly.
Yeah, fair.
Badass.
I actually just said writing because the way it's there's almost a little, chat GPT text prediction working in your brain that's just I need the next word. So writing came in, but no. Yeah. I just thought the performances were great. It left me really wanting to see more of Tess as a character. Excited to see Gen be all
Queen
right.
Queen Tess to you.
I want more Queen Tess. And now I want Gilneas just being I am going to protect my adopted son. And I'm a big wolf man. But as a bit of content, it blew. The Big Dig, I totally like what they were going for. Didn't achieve it. Just didn't work out. And that does mean that 10.2.5 kind of blew in comparison to some other similar patches. And if people felt a little bit more topped up with content via that, then this will not be as much of a letdown.
Yeah. Or
that's the thing.
Or if they hedged the bets a little bit more, I guess, and wanted to not draw full attention to this. Because obviously the thing is, with this mode, you want to go, everyone play this and tell us what it's like and have fun. The fact that we're a few weeks away from season 4 basically means that this is not a content drought in any capacity, right? Mm-hmm. Anything compared to what we've had before, which is fun.
I ran a YouTube channel during the Siege of Orgrimmar. I ran a YouTube channel after the Tanan Jungle patch.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they had made sure that season 4 was had started at like a week or two, and they went, hey, do you want to have this do you want to have this as well? Play this in your downtime, or if you're not interested in playing the same raids again, you could give this a try. Mm-hmm. Maybe that would have been better positioning. Now we are talking a little bit like small, like positioning changes that would maybe get people better. And I know it feels like capitulating to people in an insane way when the game's got pretty much more content than it almost ever has at the same time.
We do not negotiate with terrorists.
But also, the world has definitely sped up, and obviously every game has to be way faster now in order to compensate for the world being faster, which is kind of weird. So, like, obviously that's another part of they kind of scuffed it. I would, there's more comments to get into, but I do want to talk about what Nicholas said because it brings me to another point that I think is interesting, which is, how do you make content that is for collectors without forcing them to do it?
Oh, wow, yeah.
How do you physically do that? Now, I'm going to buy you time to think about an answer because I'm going to talk about Blue Archive for a bit again.
Thank God.
Because I am so tired of events every 2 weeks coming into my goddamn gacha game and me going, well, I need to make sure I conserve currency. I need to there's another bit of there's another 2 hours of story for me to read every 2 weeks. But
would you please stop reaching up my ass and giving me a poke? I just want to sit down and relax.
Yeah, it's like, could you slow down? Could you give me a month off so I can catch up on all the other stuff I didn't do? Because I do want to do all of this and make progress in it all. So into the perspective of the infinite cheap rewards, when do rewards stop feeling rewarding? And you how do you wean people off? There's a mount every 3 seconds for everything you do. How do you get people off those unbelievable amounts of drugs? Because there is, I'll get one example. And this is weird because you could easily say, well, mounts don't matter, but they clearly do to people. Mm-hmm. And they clearly do to a lot of people who play the game. So I see people in chat, but well, that's a mental fixation or a video game addiction. You're I'm not going to say that for sure because I know people who play the shit out of games and farm platinum trophies and are happy enough.
You don't want to do remote diagnosis?
Yeah, I don't want to do that. So I'll go to one example much later in our thing to talk about it, just very briefly, because I was looking at it and I nearly had an aneurysm.
Matt, I think you might need to go to the doctor for that.
Yeah, so...
Taiwan!
So the meta achievement for Taiwan, and also, if you remember Veil Strider, that's not coming back. The achievement is with the Soul Eater mount. Dude, do you have any idea how fucking much game time there is for this shit?
Yeah.
This is do every raid, do every dungeon mythic. Obviously, they're handy enough if you're a player. Lore Master, friend, get all of the reps maxed out, all of the renowns done, do all of the quests, do all of the dragon races,
easy clap,
all of the meta achievements for every patch.
Okay, that is.
And I play a lot of World of Warcraft, not as much as some people, obviously, but I have a decent few $100 in Dragonflight over the past year. Mm-hmm. I haven't got a fraction of those meta achievements done.
You see,
and that's for a month. And you go, that's cool, but
a lot of those you can knock out fairly easily because it's not telling you to do all of the special achievements involved of the incarnates. All those raid achievements, it's for LFR. So I think that this wouldn't, if this was to do everything, Keystone Master and Heroic Raid, that would be, I think, a problem for a mount like this.
No, honestly, most of my issues with meta achievements for the zones are insane.
The bit there that I think is a problem, and it reminds me, oh dear me, who is the collector I'm thinking of? Was it Mephisto?
Oh.
Forget who it was, but it was, do you remember the Covenant assaults in the Maw? As I'm sure you remember dearly.
Yeah,
we were all playing there.
Which one of these was this? Walking Memphis, was that it? Or something like that?
The thing that was a problem there is you couldn't just go and do that achievement because it was tied to the cycle. Yeah. So that, I think, is when one of these just doesn't really work. Whenever you feel like you're artificially waiting for the game. I think that, that's bad because the player feels like they don't have control. And, we talk about burnout a lot in regards to our professional lives. And a lot of the literature there is saying that people feel burnt out, whenever they do not feel like they have control over their sort of destiny and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
That's why the entire world is burned out.
Yeah, we have a few. I definitely have some IRL examples of that, which because they're IRL, I'm not going to talk about.
Agency is largely gone.
Yeah, but that happens in World of Warcraft. You know, whenever you're failing because of other people, whenever, you know, whatever it is, it's that loss of control that feels really bad. Now, for the collector type of player, I actually think they're some of them more susceptible to burnout because they're at the whims of everything if they want to collect. I think that's why a lot of collectors might feel quite, not pleased at the Plunderstorm situation.
That's why
but also
fishers in FF14 aren't human.
There you go. But also, I know that there are some things like kill this specific rare or do this specific thing, on the forbidden reach, but only on the third Tuesday of the month, depending on the cycle of the moon. And you're like, hang on, do I actually need to go into my calendar app, mathematically work out, what days I can get this achievement, and then be like, oh, sorry, love, can't do that because, it's actually a special day in the forbidden reach. Like, those are the ones that I think kind of blow because they rob the agency from the player and they don't make you feel like you can go out and do it. Now, I understand that sometimes that will be at odds with the world feeling alive. So that's just a line to walk. Hey, if you really love Mogs in the game, the Trial of Style is so demotivating because of its cadence.
Yeah. 100%. And that was kind of the point I want to bring is like, how do you ever make content without it having that incentive? Mm-hmm. If people aren't willing to do content for content's sake, how do you continually give them stuff to do without overwhelming them? Which is kind of it's the weird part that I'm kind of worried about for the long-term health, especially when they've clearly felt like they needed to do that with this mode. And I can understand why. I can understand the horrible problem if there wasn't something in it, if there was no reward, and everyone went, well, what's the point? I'm not touching it then. And then you have the devs go, why would people play my game mode that I worked really hard on? Mm-hmm. And that fucking sucks.
So, yeah, I just want to say, Nicholas, I actually think you really hit on an important issue. As WoW's patch cadence increases and increases, it is going to be fairly, this will be a spicy thing that they'll have to deal with.
There will be new problems to solve as they solve old ones, because that is game development and also most of being alive. I have solved problem. What is the next problem that's going to just blindside me?
Yeah.